Welcome back to Kettlebells and Cocktails. I'm your host, John, back with my bestie, Nikki. Nikki, how are you?
I'm good. Do I have spring roll in my teeth?
You do not. Your teeth look lovely.
Perfect.
They
Thank
look
you.
very lovely. And we have a super fun guest tonight that we both love, Tom Miazga. Tom, how are you?
I'm well, sir. Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
I'm excited to get your name right for once.
That was good. You nailed
That
it.
was right. I mean,
Yep.
just
Been
like,
practicing
You just
all
got to you just got
day.
to run with it and just commit to it.
Can we talk about your brand and everything that makes up your brand?
Oh my
Because you
gosh.
are a recent champion and not
Yes.
even your first time, good sir. Can you give
No.
us a little bit of your CrossFit Games pedigree,
I
please?
would love to. The adaptive division was introduced into the CrossFit scheme back in 2021 with the inclusion of the leaderboard and the open series. And at that point, the adaptive divisions for 5 of the 8 divisions were crowned Fittest on Earth that year. 2022, we had a open and semifinals process. The same 5 divisions that were crowned Fittest on Earth during the open in 21 were crowned the Fittest on Earth during the semis in 2022. And then this year we reverted back a little bit, which I'm sure we can talk about, but to just the open for those 5 divisions again, while the other 3 continued on to Madison. But we crowned the Fittest on Earth in the open this year. And I am proud to say that I am now 3 for 3, 3-time fittest seated man with hip function on Earth.
three for
So
three.
3 for 3.
NPD, fittest friggin' man on earth. Holy moly. That is
Yeah,
That's a crazy title.
it's exciting. It's very cool. I think for me, it's not even something that I want to focus on because I think coming from my swimming background and having trained so hard for so long, whenever I come to some sort of a competition like this, it's about how well have I trained, right? And how well
Mhm.
have I put in the effort to get to this point, which could all like ultimately bring the success I'm looking for. So yeah, it's very humbling to know that for 3 years in a row, like I've worked hard and I've worked the way I needed to in order to be the best, which is awesome. So
I always joke that Tom is the only actual athlete at the CrossFit Games because he's a real life Olympian, which we have
yes.
to talk about for a hot
Yes.
second because John and I had this terrible track record of having Olympians on the show and not talking about it.
Oh
Do you
no.
remember when we
Yes, we
did
do.
that, John? Oh my
Oh
God,
my
we're so
Oh
God.
bad.
gosh, who I'm curious, who was it?
It was Mo, who's one of the guys who started High Rocks, and we had
Oh
him on the
yeah.
show to talk all about High Rocks and how cool it is and how he started it. And he talked about his background just like doing sports, quote
Yeah.
unquote, and then like not really having that kind of outlet and wanting to do some
Right.
more stuff. And then we were like, what kind of sports did Mo do? And we looked it up later and we were like,
What?
oh, he like truly went
Yeah.
to the Olympics on a team.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was
Holy
not
shit.
they didn't just go to the Olympics. I was Googling him to put together our show notes, and it quite literally said he's the greatest field hockey champion in the history of Germany. That's what it said. I'm
Oh
like,
man.
I mean, it wasn't like it was just like a subtle he went to the
Yeah.
Olympics once, like he was a two-time gold medal winner, greatest person they'd ever had played. I'm like, "Oh my god, we're such idiots."
Yeah.
Basically, what happens when we Google you too, Tom?
Stop it.
Greatest
Pretty much.
swimmer
In
alive.
Mo's defense, he probably would be this is a very similar way to be like, "Yeah, I had a background in swimming." Like, he would kind of
Right.
brush it off, right? I mean,
He did, straight up.
it's a humble brag, it's exciting, but,
Mhm.
like, I don't know, I think we all come to a point where it's like, it's not the defining moment of our life, though it was very cool, right? It was, yeah, we kind of, like to move on and know that we're more than that sometimes, but yeah. A Paralympic swimmer, 2008, Beijing, China. Swam the 100 back and the 400-meter freestyle over there, so quite the experience. I was a ripe 17 years old. I was going to my senior year of high school. So it
Wow.
was all very young and very new. I never intended we never intended, my coach and I, to make Beijing. We were thinking like, oh, let's go to trials. Let's have an experience. Let's learn from it. And then in 21 or 20, excuse me, 2012, when you're a junior in college and you've had some collegiate experience and you're older and bigger and faster, like then we'll go. And oh, surprised ourselves and made it in 2008. And everything beyond that was just icing on the cake. So it was quite the trip. So
Crazy. Tom,
yeah,
you
it
were
was
like a
awesome.
child put
I
into like
know.
insane high
Yeah.
pressure professional sporting situation.
Right.
Holy shit.
But ironically, we actually had like, I think there were 38 members of our team. We had 20 men and 18 women. And I think like 6 or 7 of us were in high school still. We were a young squad. So
Weird.
yeah, we literally took the chaperone idea to a whole new level. Games.
Crazy. I
Yeah.
can't even when we always talk about, even in CrossFit, we talk about how like oh my God, when you're 35, you're old, right? Like it's
Yeah.
definitely professional sports favor the young with just
Right.
recovery and with your capabilities and with the time and things you have going on in your life. And a lot of us don't have kids or jobs or anything really that young. So the
Yeah.
definitely sport definitely favors the young, but it is bananas how young and how good you have to be at that young age to really even make an accomplishment like the CrossFit Games or
Oh, sure.
really the
Yeah.
Olympics, really.
Yeah.
The
It's
only
interesting,
athlete among us.
stop. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. You just correlate it to Kerstetter or even Emma
Yeah,
Lawson right now, or Jack Farlow for all things
truly.
considered. Right. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like, they've done a really good job, those three in specific too, of balancing life really well with their training. But they're also the people that are going to make the extra sacrifices for what they're trying to achieve in order to get what they want. I think I kind of would say the same thing happened. I went to school, I did my thing, I was involved in other clubs like student council. I was in extracurricular like choirs and stuff that we would have to go and sing around town. And I had to miss a practice or two, but any moment like that I could train, like I didn't go to my homecoming dances, I didn't go to proms, I didn't stay out late and hang out after football games. I'm like, I have practice Saturday morning. Like those are the little commitments that like I think the drive separates those from who are really wanting to be good versus those that are like demand to be great. Right. So
Totally.
yeah, I think that swimming really gave me that potential that I didn't know I had. Cause I think it was between feeling so free in the water where my cerebral palsy wasn't as much of a factor as it was on dry land because the weightlessness of the water made my legs float a little bit easier. And with a large upper body, like I could really pull myself through and do some damage. So it was just like, that was motivating in itself. But then as started to see progress in just times and standards and cuts achieved and qualifying for certain meets, like that's where it was like that internal drive just continued to grow and grow. And it was just like, let's just see how far we can take this. So, and that's neat to see. I think a lot of our CrossFit athletes kind of starting to build into that, but not to a hyperdrive situation. Like, I think it's really neat to see Emma Lawson, like a week or two before the CrossFit Games, is talking about going to get her homecoming dress. And it's like, she just finished, she's the second fittest woman on earth, right? And it's crazy to see how well she's balanced those two things. And I think that really spells a promising future for her. So,
For sure.
yeah.
Tom, how did you make the switch? Like, how did you find CrossFit? And you were like, this pool.
I
Well,
know,
not
right?
really, because I know you're still very involved in swimming and we'll get into
Yes.
that. But how
Yeah.
did you end up making that switch?
So, very long story short, like I said, we had talked about 2012 being the games where like I'd make my debut. Hopefully we can get myself on the map and figure things out. I inadvertently ended up qualifying for '08 and missing London in 12 by 100th of a second. And I had
What?
no plan B. Yeah. I was at St. Louis University in the fall of 2011. I left school and came home and kind of per se turned pro and had some sponsorship help to keep me afloat, pun intended, and just
Yeah.
trained all the time. Right. And put every egg in that basket. And when I did not qualify, um, there was like no other plan. Like I had to go back to school. I was in a physical therapy program at SLU. And basically when I left in the fall, I was able to finish that semester. And then I was just going to take an entire year and pick it up in the spring of 2013, same class schedule that I'd have to take, but just a year later than intended. So when I didn't make it, I had the opportunity to go back to school in the fall. But if I did that, I would have breached my leave of absence contract, which would have taken away my scholarship that I had. And so it was like kind of this ultimatum of like, what do I do for these 3-4 months and try and figure out life? And that's when I got involved in swim coaching. And so I got on the other side of the pool and kind of started to realize that I had passion for helping others find the goals that I couldn't personally achieve, right? Or maybe couldn't get all the way to. And so in coaching, I kind of was reinvigorated to get in the water a little bit again. And so I ended up transferring to Marquette up here in Milwaukee. I got an elementary education degree because it was a field of, it was a field that allowed me to go teach in the day and then go coach after school and get all tangents of my life into one daily schedule, which was exciting for me. And so by 2015, I had been in the water regularly. I was fully set on team redemption here. Like 16 is going to be the comeback. Like I'm going to prove 12 was a fluke, that 8 wasn't a fluke. And in the end of 2015, I was getting ready to go to my student teaching semester. and finish up my teaching degree as well. And so then as 2016 rolled around, I basically had to go and student teach until the end of January when the school that I was at semester ended. Like I had to see that through rather than my own college semester. So I was there a little bit longer than most college kids. And then something just kind of came over me at one of my swim meets. I was at nationals in the beginning of the year in Bismarck, North Dakota. Wonderful time around the winter years. And I literally woke up on the third day of the meet, last day of the meet, and like just had the craziest epiphany of like, this is it. I'm done. Like, this has been a good run. Like, I've never felt that like satisfied or like completely content with anything in swimming at that moment ever. And like, I remember texting my mom, like, hey guys, just want to let you know, like, this is gonna be the last one. They're like, yeah, last day. Woo, good luck. Go get it. I'm like, no, this is like the last one. And they're like, what? And I'm like, who's going to hire a first year teacher in 2016 that needs to go to the Paralympics and miss the first month of the school year? I wasn't ready to go and sub for a whole nother year and just kind of like twiddle my thumbs through the next calendar year, feeling like I had these what ifs or should have, could have, would have. But, so I ended up leaving swimming right at that meet. I went to that nationals meet and said, you know what? I had a great career. This was fantastic. I love it, but it's time for me to move on and develop a professional life for myself and know that I can support myself and maybe a future partner and some kids and have a house and do it all. So, I ended up just not doing anything for like 5, 6 months. And as I was getting ready for my first classroom that fall, I was teaching fourth grade reading and writing. I'm like, didn't think it'd be that much to get around, but you depends on how you set up your desks and, how many kids you got and how big the room is. And I found that I had to walk a lot more in my room than my chair was going than I thought originally. I thought I could use my chair a lot more, get around quicker. And even in the first couple of weeks, I was like, oh boy, I got to do something. Like it was something to go from training like 12, 13 times a week in the water to literally nothing. Like,
Yeah.
like 100 to
Yeah.
0 was a bad choice, right?
You can't take
No.
the athlete out of a man.
Right?
You really can't. No
Yeah.
way.
And so I just started I just found that I needed to get some hip mobility going again. And that's where the water was such a treat for me, because it wasn't that I was actively using them, but just the engagement of the core and just the flow and the body roll just really helped the tendons and the muscles stay loose and active. And so when I was sitting a lot more and just not working out, like I just felt myself atrophy a lot, where it's like, ugh, I'm
Totally.
stiff and it's achy and not getting around as easy and it's more laborious. And so I literally just went to our local affiliate and they had a neighboring physical therapy and like they call it muscle and movement team. So it's like a massage therapist, chiropractic, physical therapy clinic right next to the gym that we have, our first affiliate here. And I just went to them first just to kind of get some baseline, like, hey, let's go the PT route first. I'm used to that. I've been through that my whole entire life. Like, just got to get moving again. And as we started progressing very quickly, they're like, all right, well, we're going to send you across the other side of the wall and you're going to go start doing this with an L1 trainer. I'm like, cool. All right. And
Oh
we
my
started
God,
doing the same
epic.
stuff. Yeah. And then before I knew it, they're like, hey, do you like pull-ups? I'm like, yes, I
Yes.
do.
Love that.
And I think one of the first workouts I ever did was, oh gosh, it was a benchmark. What is it? It's 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. It's not Annie, but it's, oh my gosh, I'm totally breaking. Dips. No, it's like squats, dips, pull-ups, push-ups, something like that. But I did a benchmark workout and there was like, they're like, that's really fast. And I'm like, yeah, I felt good. I liked it. I'm like, can I do it
Yeah.
again? And they're like, Barbara. I think it's Barbara.
Oh, or I was gonna say,
Oh,
or is
yeah.
it Angie? Is Angie the one with hundreds?
Oh, no, that's the hundreds. That's the
That's
hundreds.
hundreds.
Yeah, I don't think it was Barbara, but I did
Barbara's
that. And I
rough.
was just like, they're like, this is like, that's impressive. And
Just
then,
do this.
yeah. And so then before I knew it, I just went full swing into CrossFit. And then by, late 2016, the rest just kind of just started to fall into it. I'm like, this is the same feeling I had in the pool of like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I can be competitive. And like, I'm sore the next day. And that's like, I know it's kind of sadistic, but like, that's a reward. Like I worked harder than
Totally.
I thought my body could. And I pushed limits and I learned more about myself. And it was just fun to know that I was also giving myself that daily functional independence that I was looking for. Right. So that functional fitness really helped with my independence, my ease of getting around, my just daily life felt stronger. And I would think that was the most like intoxicating thing was like, I felt strong. I never felt strong with swimming. Like I felt like I was good at swimming and I could hold my breath for a while, but like you feel yourself getting healthy when you're doing CrossFit. And I remember that feeling and just like honing into that so hard. And having Paralympic swimming background, I ended up just like Googling, I'm like, is there like wheelchairs? Is there CrossFit for people in wheelchairs? Right. And inadvertently found the Wheel WAD organization and who've been like the front runners in everything adaptive CrossFit and did the CrossFit Open in 2017 with them. Ended up winning it. And the rest is history. Been competing with Wheel WAD ever since 2017 and just kind of woof, here we go.
Wait,
So
rewind. What was your first year of CrossFit?
26, like August 2016.
Like 2016, you
Yeah.
started CrossFit.
Yeah.
2017, you won already. There's
Yeah,
a little
it's
bit of natural talent here. I'm just throwing
right.
that out
I know.
there.
Well, it's
How
it's
cool.
yeah, it's been very humbling. It's been very cool. And I think what's really neat is even after what are we now, 7 years into it, like I only feel my passion growing for it. Like there's
Yeah.
no trepidations about it. Like even when I'm sore, I'm like, I'm trying to find a way to get to the gym and just keep moving. And I think it's so cool. Like there's been moments even for myself, like to be able to root it into why I joined in the first place. Right. I know the competitive side of things and the Instagram followings and all the like glitz and glamour. You're like, oh my God, he's handstand walking. Right. Like I remember vividly 2 or 3 years into it where I have my laundry's downstairs in my house here. And I always had to grab onto like, I used to have like a burlap sack basically to carry my clothes upstairs. And I would have to use both railings. And inadvertently, like a couple of years ago, I found myself carrying a laundry basket with 2 hands up the stairs, not even using the railings. And I was like, holy crap, CrossFit. Like, this is
Yeah.
awesome. Like,
Huh.
it's so cool to have those little moments and say, like, that means a lot. I'm pumped to think that 32-year-old Tom is on a trajectory that he's going to be 42-year-old Tom and still walking around and can maybe pick up his little ones and carry him on his lap while he's wheeling, or even walk them around the house while they're on his shoulder. And like CrossFit has brought that for me. I don't think swimming could ever do that. So it's like, it's just so cool to feel that daily functional fitness, which as fun as CrossFit can be, like that's really what matters. And
Well,
it's so cool to be able to promote
you do some pretty superhuman things, dude.
that.
Like,
I know.
Yeah.
I think before I even knew you, someone sent me the video. It was the one where you were doing the consecutive muscle ups. I think,
Okay.
you did like 11 or 12 in a row or something.
Oh yeah. I was at the Wheel Log Games. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like in the video, Nikki, I'll describe it to you. Like he gets out of the chair and grabs the rings and does like 11. And so, like I'm watching. I don't know Tom at the time. I'm watching, and I'm like, oh, this is inspiring. And after about the 5th one, I'm like, fuck that guy. Like it's like he
Oh,
is
man.
too fit, and he was
Yeah.
just killing them. And then I shared it, and it got like a bazillion,
Yeah, it was awesome.
bazillion likes. Like people just love this thing. And
I
it,
remember that video.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane. It's you
Yeah.
can do an
And I
insane
remember
number
John
of
sent it
muscle
to me
ups.
and he was like, this guy is so fit and so handsome and it is so not fair. What the fuck?
Yeah, you got
get out of here.
you got all the tools, man. You got the voice.
Yeah.
That's why you're doing media now. Like, got your experience in CrossFit has not been my experience in CrossFit, for the record.
It's
You
it
know?
has not been most, and so I am
Yeah.
very humble and very honored to be where I am. That's much I know. So
This year, having you on the media team for the second year, but
Second
an
year.
expanded role
yeah.
as our ESPN guy in
Oh my
BD.
God. Right.
Oh my God. Can we talk about it? First of all, I think it's pretty obvious Tom's like one of my favorite people on the planet.
My
Forever
gosh.
thankful to CrossFit, the media team, for bringing us
Yes.
together because I love you with
BFFs.
all of my
And
soul.
I will stand or sit, whatever I do, behind you on your current PSL debacle. So
Thank you.
we can get those pumpkin spice lattes tomorrow. That's just
It-
fine by me.
Can we please? I've had like a great debate on my Instagram today. Hold on, sidebar. This is
I laughed the
important.
whole time. I'm like, I know where she's coming from.
This is so important. So Duncan came out with their pumpkin, which by the way is like far inferior to
Wait, already?
Yeah, it's already out. It's already out. Just let it
it's-
happen.
It's like,
It's up.
when is the date today? It's the 16th of August.
It's out. It's out.
All
I'm
right,
really
all right,
waiting
that's
for
fine.
Starbucks, but Duncan is out.
Okay,
And so I
that's
was
fine.
like, bring on the pumpkin. And I had this great
course.
debate on my Instagram where people were like, shut up. It's August. It's not fall, whatever. I get that. I get that it's not fall. All I'm saying is I would drink a pumpkin spice latte on the beach in 90-degree weather, an iced one. I just
Yeah.
think it is the superior flavor and should be available year round. And as soon as it is out, I will drink it. And I love that it is still summer. I love fall, but like I am not rushing the end of summer by any means. I'm just saying, bring on the pumpkin spice.
Do you know I've never had a flavored latte?
S-
Never. I love the crazy thing is I love lattes. Whole milk.
They're
Just
delicious.
whole milk lattes are great. Especially if it's
Wow.
really good milk. As a matter of fact, when we were in Madison, and I'm jealous that now that I know you're in Milwaukee, because I'm sure it's the same experience for you, Tom. In Madison, we lost him. Oh,
We
crap.
lost him. I know. That's
He'll
okay.
be
He'll
back.
come back.
He'll be back. Anyway, in Madison, the milk is so good that the lattes are spectacular.
I bet.
Oh my God, it was
They
so
just
good.
keep the cows out back.
Yeah, yeah.
John, I'm just going to gift you a Starbucks gift card so that you can go get yourself a pumpkin cream cold brew. I pray they come back this year.
All right, first of all, I have a little mom and pop coffee shop right next to my affiliate that's amazing.
Great. Love that.
And then we have another little mom and pop coffee shop that roasts right here, right around
Perfect.
the corner, right down in the village. So I'm not doing Starbucks, but I'll go try a flavor just for you. They do
I'm sure they'll have pumpkin.
Megan always gets this lavender
Yeah.
lattes.
Usually when you get good mom and pop shops, they'll oftentimes make their own delicious syrups. And that's when I find that they have like lavender or like clover honey or like those types of flavors. So I wouldn't be surprised if your local spots were making their own flavor
All right. Well,
situations.
maybe everyone listening can just send me suggestions for whatever the manliest latte you can have is, because it's not pumpkin spice. Like, I
Who
can say that.
cares? Matt
I-
loves a PSL.
I don't like pumpkin. That's my problem. I know I'm blowing your mind right now. I've never liked pumpkin. It's just not my thing. I've never liked it.
My God, I just don't understand. My brain can't wrap itself around what's happening.
I know.
Let me send him a message real quick.
Yeah. See where he is. We'll figure it out. Oh, here he is.
Oh, perfect.
I have no idea. It just like completely vanished. I couldn't even like find it on my modem. So sorry about that.
No, no
It's all-
worries. We were just bitching about pumpkin spice together, so you're
can-
all good.
I have this new editing software, Tom. It makes editing this stuff so much easier, so I don't even worry about it anymore.
Okay,
It's a
sorry
breeze.
about that. Yeah.
Tom, where do you stand on the Great Pumpkin debate? That's the question.
Yeah, do you like pumpkins or not?
Yes, I do. I do like
Yes,
it, but I
knew
can
you
only
would
have.
let me down.
I won't let you down, but I can only have it in moderation. If I have it too often, I'm like over it really fast. Like when
Okay.
songs get played on the radio too much, it's the same thing. It's like maybe like a once or twice a month. For me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I like
I
the
can't
smell
get
of it.
burnt out on. I can't get burnt out on it because I'm so chuggy. I just can't.
That's okay. I get
in
it.
You're
my
what?
veins.
Chuggy?
I'm chuggy.
The hell is chuggy?
Chuggy is how would you best describe chuggy?
Is this like
Chuggy.
is this a different language or just a made up
No,
word?
no. It's like it's like a made up word that is now like a real societal word.
Oh, okay.
It's like the word that best describes like millennial cringe.
Yeah. It's like you think you're
Yippee.
bougie and you
Right.
got it all put together, but everyone's kind of like
Chuggy. Okay, I'm gonna use use
Yeah.
this in a sentence with my girls and see if
There you go.
it's a real thing.
It's like if you wore Uggs in college, you're probably chuggy now.
Oh, all right.
You get it?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
me.
yeah.
I'm full chug. I've
You're-
embraced it.
Yes, you are a full
You're the
chug.
best of them though, in all the
Thank
right
you.
ways.
I
Yes.
appreciate that. Anyway, that was a really hard left turn down pumpkin spice lane.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
roll on back to your second year now with us on the
Yes.
media team
Mhm.
on the other side of the competition floor, commentating on all the things and like how did it go? How do you like that role?
I loved it. I absolutely love it. I really enjoy it. Last year, even just to like be a part of it was so like numbing because I remember showing up day one last year and I roll up to the production trailer and I open a door. They're like, yeah, come on in. And then I open another door and it's Sean and Chase sitting right there testing mics. Like, hey man, put this on. And it's like, all right, cool. And I'm like, just being told what to do. I hear 800 voices in my ear at once. I'm like, what is happening? Like, I'm like, where are all these people coming from? And they're just sitting there like naturals. And I'm just kind of like sheepishly like, guys, what do I do? Like, help me. And just kind of got thrusted into it. Like I remember
Yeah.
the first, I'm going to call it test. I know last year we were events test. They had all the adaptive divisions running together. And it was like, okay, tell us about adaptive adaptive CrossFit, ready, go. And I'm like, "Ooh, there's so many different disabilities out there right now. And who's competing and why are they here versus somebody else? And there's just so much to talk about." And I had a buffer word of absolutely. Like every time my
Oh,
co-anchor
yes.
would say something, I would say, yeah, absolutely. It's like my like quick, like, I need a second to get about what I'm going to say. And it was kind of funny how prevalent that was when I like watch back just for my own feedback to know what I need to do and better. But it was crazy how like by when that started Thursday last year to Sunday, like how much more comfortable I felt and how like it was very easy to have a conversation about things rather than feeling like you're reporting and talking and very formal about things. So just to cover the adaptive division and be that voice of education and reason for everybody was really, really cool. It was a really neat opportunity. And the crew at Hamilton Road Productions has been awesome and wonderful for me. We did a social media bit where we equated to like a Sports Center top 10 vibe, where I was the adaptive correspondent and just sent in a 30-second clip once a week, every other week, just to highlight something that's going on in the adaptive division. And that was a really nice way to blend into the commentating role and feel like, well, it was easy to talk about athletes leading up to the games. And so I got to the games and I knew exactly who I was talking about and some historical things that they've done. And so then this year, when they bring me back and we have our first pre-production meetings, they're like, yeah, we're going to have Tom and Jason Kalipa, which already I'm like, whoa, that's cool. And then cover the age group and adaptive final, and then stick around for the rest of the week with the individual, I guess I'll call them able-bodied elite athletes. I was just like, I guess I must have done all right last year because like the fact from just doing adaptive to now like literally interviewing Emma Lawson and Chandler Smith and Jeff Adler and Laura Horvath, I was just like, what is happening? It was such an experience this year to actually be down in the athlete warm-up area, following athletes all week, getting to talk with them, getting to talk with their coaches, getting that inside intel. And then let alone holding a mic that had an ESPN logo on it. You know, it's like every 8-year-old boy's like childhood dream right there. It's like,
Totally.
Yep.
I'm on ESPN. Like, it's just so hard to comprehend. And like even walking around and being like, hey, I'm Tom from ESPN. I'm like, a sentence that'll never make sense to me in my mind. You know? But, really
awesome.
cool. It was really, really fun. And I love it. I don't know what the future holds for the seated athletes competing at the games, but you know, it might, if the seated athletes do get a chance to be on the floor next year and I'm asked back to broadcast, like I'm hoping I can pull that Stacey Tovar vibe and like
I bet you
and then
could.
join.
I bet
But
you
I'm also
could.
like, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's gonna be a really hard decision if I can't. So
Yeah,
both
I
are
bet you
awesome.
could. I don't think
Yeah.
you have to sweat making that call.
Yeah.
They
No,
will
I know.
totally accommodate you. How
Yeah.
could they not? It is so much better for them to have you up in the booth being like, I was just down there.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
24 hours ago, that was me. And so I can tell you exactly what's going on with those athletes.
Yeah. And I do really appreciate that they brought me in as an adaptive athlete that has experience to talk about adaptive CrossFit too. I think it's not to say that anybody in the past hasn't done a good job, but I definitely know that like there's some discomfort with talking about certain things or saying certain phrases that maybe somebody that hasn't been in the realm would know how to react to or how to put into good context. So, you know, I'm not throwing around derogatory terms here by any means, but call somebody disabled like that's no problem, right? It's something that's very, very prevalent in that individual's life. So like let's not shy away from it, right? I'm not afraid
Yeah.
to talk about that stuff. So
I think that's a great point. And I can even say from like personal experience, I think people just really don't want to get it wrong. Right. And so
Yeah.
you really don't want to offend anyone. You're really just out there trying to like talk about athletes and what they're doing. And sometimes you're right, the words we use
Yeah.
are loaded.
Mhm.
Or you worry that certain people feel differently about them. I'm like, are 80% of people cool with being called disabled, but 20% aren't? And now I'm just going to piss off this 20. Like,
Right.
I'm not familiar enough with the community to like understand what is commonly acceptable and what isn't.
sure.
And then you
Yeah.
just like, you want to do such a good job. You're afraid of stepping on toes and totally fucking up that you probably sound really uncomfortable when you're talking because you
Right.
are, because you're like
It's like
literally walking on eggshells.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. And so I think everyone, it's good that we're doing it and we should do it more. And we can talk a little bit too, because I'd love your perspective on the just sort of like unfortunate lack of coverage that we've had. But we should be doing it more and we should all get more comfortable
Yeah.
with being able to speak about it confidently because the bigger it gets and the more prevalent it gets, the more we should really like everyone should be brought into the fold on how to best commentate on that type of
We had Ogar on here once, and I'm convinced to this day he kept saying words that were offensive just to make us uncomfortable
Yeah.
the entire time. And at some point, I asked him, I'm like, "Are we allowed to say that word?" I don't even remember what the word was now, but I'm like, "Are we
It's probably
allowed to say
cripple.
that?"
Like,
I think that
cripple
was
is the
it.
word
It was
that some
cripple.
people are like, okay, to me, I'm like, whatever, fine. And then some people, it's like really offensive. Now, if
Right.
a random stranger calls me cripple, like, I'm not going to take that too well. But like Kevin talking about being a cripple, like, that's different. That's just Kevin.
It's like if you called me your bitch versus someone else told me that I was a bitch. I was like, listen,
Yeah, right.
listen, I get that. And then I'm also like, can I say it or is that just your word?
Right.
Mhm.
Also
Right.
a question, but yeah.
See, it would have been really funny though if you'd gone on the broadcast and just said all the offensive words, but acted like they
Right.
weren't, and
Friends,
just to
let's
make
get it out of the way right now. Yeah.
poor
Oh my God,
Kalipo.
can you imagine?
Oh my
Yeah.
God! Speaking of, Kalipa said you carried him. By the way, he said
Yeah,
you
he did.
did.
Oh,
He said he was
Good
so
times.
nervous, and you were giving him all the tips. So.
yeah. Well, I mean, I know the adaptive divisions, especially when we're throwing two divisions out on the floor at the same time, like that can be a lot to try and digest. And we had a 6-minute workout that was taking some people literally, thanks a lot, Casey Akery, 1 minute and 40 seconds. Like we had no
Right.
time to talk about anything. Like,
Yup.
like, I mean, what do you do with that? So it was, yeah, it was cool that we had that opportunity to work together. And it was really neat to see how invested Kalipo was in the adaptive divisions. We had so many conversations off camera about just what goes into it and why are there groups here that are in there are certain divisions that are not here, and why are these people competing in the way that they are, and why are they doing this with the barbell versus. It was just really cool how invested he was in it. It was just neat for him. And I got to work alongside Adrian Conway as well. He was where I did most of the female interviews following tests. He did most of the male interviews. And so it was really cool just for us to get to know each other really well. And he, same thing, really invested and interested in what the adaptive athletes were doing and equally as impressed by them. And it was really cool to be with such prominent names in our sphere and have them so intrigued about something that I feel so passionate about. Like that was really a really, really cool moment that I won't forget for a while. So,
Yeah. Both of those dudes are so genuine.
oh, I know. Yeah.
They're so awesome. And they're just like, man, they're intelligent and they're intelligent about our sport. And so
Yeah.
passionate.
Right.
You guys were the perfect team to do that work.
It was fun.
At
It was
games.
so fun. Yeah. And then reporting this year and kind of having to just like, what was very interesting about not like compared to commentating when I was like doing interviews or doing on field or on-side reports and talking like, oh, I talked with Emily Rolfe's coach, Kyle Rolfe, and like you're so focused on what you're going to say next that you forget what you're saying in the moment. And then all of a sudden you're just like in a fugue of like, where am I going? Where is this at? And I'm like, there is a camera that says ESPN on it right now, and I can't look at anything else. I don't know what I'm doing. But as we had some great help. Her name was Eliza, who was kind of like our manager per se, and kind of our field liaison for who are we talking to and do they like the cut that we made, and and she was just awesome and kind of gave us really good feedback about how to work through things. And the same thing as last year. I was like Thursday, I felt a little nervous, a little antsy to get going, and by Sunday, it was just like having a conversation, having a good time, and talking about something I really enjoy. So I'd love to see it keep going. I would love to keep doing it. I really enjoy it. It's been a really fun gig, and I don't know. I'd love to see if I could branch outside the CrossFit sphere with it and see what else is out there. So I know
Hell yeah.
we know we've talked to all our producers who are working with the big wigs, and they say if you want a job out there, it's there. So just gotta go find it. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And
It's
I
fun.
like you're truly, Tom, you're like made for it. Like the very first
Oh.
time I heard your commentary last year, I was like, oh, this dude is like surely has a background in this. Like just sounds so natural, so normal. And I just feel like you could commentate over any sport that you get to know.
Yeah.
Able-bodied, non-able-bodied, like it does not matter. I don't think you need to be in any sort of very specific role. I think
No,
you could
it's-
truly roll with the broadcasting stuff, as long as it doesn't mess with like the pool stuff and the teaching stuff
Right?
and the
Yeah.
charity stuff that you're doing. We gotta talk about that too. I feel like you're kind of busy these days.
It's
but,
all right. It's good. That'd be a fun little side hustle for sure. So
totally.
I
It,
appreciate
fe-
it.
it feels like Nikki's making a pitch to have you replace me. I'm just saying. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like.
Whoa.
Just wondering.
Dude, right?
Come on. You can
I'm not even
diminish,
shave my head just yet. I had those so many days are over. So
come
Well,
come diminish this brand with Nikki. It'll be great. You guys will kill it.
Brand
Yes.
We'll
redeeming.
be pond scum by the end of the week. I'm ready.
Truly. Um,
Exactly.
so let's just real quick, because I would love to just hear your opinion on it. And John and I have talked about this a few times already on the show, and we're both just kind of like, just in general, like, understand budget constraints from CrossFit caused a lot of misses in the broadcast, and it just sort of like is what it is from a business standpoint. We understand where they're coming from, but we would just love to see more better coverage
Yeah.
of masters and also of the adaptive division. So you've
Yeah.
been on both sides of the coin. You've been a competitor. You were also a part of the broadcast. Like, just how are you feeling after everything that happened this year?
I'll say this. When we had our first initial production talks, and when I heard them say, yeah, and Tom and Jason will be covering the adaptive final, I was like, the final? Like, that's it? Like, last year, I literally did like 6 of the 8 tests, and this year it's only 1. And so that was already a red flag of like, what does that mean for the rest of the week? And especially since we moved adaptive and age group early, you'd think that you'd have the resources and availability to provide a broadcast. And I thought maybe like when they moved that forward, I'm like, oh, sick. Like we'll be able to show every single adaptive test this week. Like that's really cool. That's really awesome. It's definitely taken a bit back. It's like you said, I've been on both sides of it. And I've also been on both sides of the debate of all of it, right? Like why have we done it and why haven't we done it? Like I'm not somebody that wants to take sides on this, but I think this year was definitely eye-opening between moving from having a semifinal for 5 of the 8 divisions last year to then reverting back to just an open this year. Though they were 3 great tests, 4 tests, I guess, right? With the AB, to have been just crowned fittest on earth through 3 workouts didn't feel like enough, right? There's a lot of elements that probably weren't tested yet, and a lot of ability to adapt to a surrounding or environment that wasn't really executed that we didn't get to see. I won't lie, like I'm envious watching Acree and all the big names out there on the field in Madison. Like, yeah, it'd be fantastic at this point in my career. Like I didn't join CrossFit for that, right? And I'll make that very clear. But like when you see it as a reality now, like it's hard to not want it, right?
Yeah.
So I was definitely surprised by only covering the adaptive and age group final for both divisions, right? I mean, it's tough for all those age group athletes who are putting in the same amount of effort to be where they are. And you're watching from an ant farm, basically, as they're doing Helen, and you just see a little blip in your corner of them like running away. And then like, that's it. It's like, okay. So yeah, it was a bummer. I won't lie. It's a bummer. It was tough to see that our athletes that are really, I think the intent to provide inclusion of the adaptive divisions has been there. And I think it still is there. It was just surprising that, again, I don't know why the decision was made. I don't know the pragmatics behind the call on whether it was budget, whether it was staff, whether it was workload, whether it was the ESPN broadcast that wasn't allowing any other sort of broadcast to happen effectively, right? I don't know what it was that they made a decision they did. So I can't really like complain about it too much without really having an answer. So I'd kind of like to have an answer, right? I'm not somebody that's going to get mad at you for it. It's like, I just want to know. And then I want to know what to expect moving forward, right? We're in a situation right now where I think there's a bit like, and John, you did a great job with your post a few days ago, right? Your little 7-minute clip.
Thanks.
And I appreciate listening. And I listened again this morning just to make sure I was refreshed. But the best sort of education that we can provide is making it viable, right? And if we want to have more adaptive athletes involved, we need to have it shown more often. And that you nailed it on the head with that. And I think by showing their hand and barely providing a broadcast, like it challenges how committed they are to that idea. Again, I don't know the budget. I don't know the pragmatics by even having an adaptive leaderboard in the open, right? How much more work that takes to get that all set up. I'm not a coder. I'm not anything of the finances on that side. I don't know, but there are a lot of athletes working really hard because they have now found a new passion where they saw somebody and they said, holy cow, I only have one arm too. I didn't know I could do this. Or, oh my gosh, I'm in a wheelchair. I want to go to a CrossFit gym. I want to see if I can do what he's doing or she's doing. Right. And there's been a lot of great grassroots movement. I think there's been a lot more education, at least from what I've seen too. There's been a better broad spectrum of education being put out there. Maybe not necessarily through CrossFit, but the Adaptive Training Academy.
Yep.
Wheelwad's doing a great job of just getting more people to open their doors to adaptive athletes. And so we just got to find a way to highlight that better. I know that last year there was an issue with participation in the semifinal that was provided. And so I can understand from CrossFit's realm that if you're not going to do it and we're going to put all this money into offering it, we're just not going to offer it. So I get
Yeah.
it. I understand
Yeah.
it. And there's probably some issues this year with them having made huge HQ changes a few months before the games, right? Firing a lot of and removing basically the DEI program. A lot of the adaptive staff was let go. There's probably a lot that just says like, with that happening, it's like, let's not try and tie any pretty bows on a rough situation right now. Like, let's reset for 2024. I could see that, right? On the promising side, with having Kevin Ogar and Chris Stoutenberg, who have had numerous, I mean, they basically have started, Chris Stoutenberg started Wheelwad, right? I mean, they've got the expertise and knowledge that I think is exciting for what's to come. I think if they can get on a really good communicative foot with CrossFit about how things should be run and how things should be handled and how especially the adaptive classifications should go. I know that's always been a hot topic. I think then we're in a situation that we're going to see this grow in a way that makes sense for CrossFit too. I went into the games thinking that the Tuesday to Thursday vibe was like a guinea pig run to say like, hey, if this works for these 3 divisions, can we do it for all 8 next year?
Yeah.
And when they didn't get much coverage, I was like, were they just trying to get them out of the way? Like, I don't know. So,
Yeah.
or maybe it was a trial run and we're going to learn more. So it's a rocky situation. I get it, but I can't stress enough that the only way that we're going to help out is by continuing to participate.
Yeah.
I've heard from too many athletes though, that like we're upset with movement standards in the open workouts, or upset with the, just the lack of opportunity. It's like, well, we have to keep showing up if we want to give them data to work with. We gotta do the open workout that has the 70-pound dumbbell thruster that you weren't ready for. We got to do that and put in your score as it was and say, oh, hey, look at nobody in the standing upper division was able to move that dumbbell. Like, we made a bad decision there. Let's revert and retry again next year. And then everyone's happy. But if we don't give them that data and the raw evidence to say that this didn't work out, how are they ever going to know? Right. So there's a lot of just like, we got to keep trudging forward. We got to keep moving forward. And maybe it's more, I think very much about what Brent has done, Fikowski, with the athletes union that they kind of created, the athlete advisory group, right? And how they've done a lot about the whole cutting the ropes at semifinals last year, that debacle, and kind of making communications happen between the athletes and the higher ups. And maybe we need to do something like that for the adaptive divisions. And it's just like, can you give us an idea of what your intent is? What is your plan for 24 and moving forward? We don't know where we're going next year. Obviously, we know it's not Madison, right? Is this going to be a more accessible city for us? Who knows? Is it going to be more a lesser accessible? Like, what's going to happen for adaptive CrossFit? I got to come back at it, John. Like, I loved your idea too of maybe it's that we just take it off their hands, right?
Well,
and then we move it to, and the first thing that comes to my mind every time, Wadapalooza. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
there is such a crowd there. It is an absolute party. Everybody stays to watch. Like, I think a few years we've had I've competed immediately following the elite individuals, and like everyone stays, nobody leaves. They keep watching, right? And so if you want to crown your fittest on earth, maybe it's going to like a sanctional event like that in some capacity where it's proven to have worked, right? We've seen the Wadapalooza do great stuff in incorporating adaptive athletes. Or maybe it's giving it full rights to Wheelwad, and Wheelwad runs their Wheelwad CrossFit games instead. And that's the true fittest on earth, right? The branding goes to them. It's hard to say, but there are definitely a lot of people out there that have the resources and have the opportunities that I think we just need to have CrossFit knock on their door and be like, help us out.
Yeah.
Help us know where we want to go with this, and help us where we should go with this. So yeah, it's interesting. coming back all around. It was definitely a surprise to only see what coverage was there, and for both Don and Dave to talk about it and blatantly said like, yeah, we messed up here. Like we shot ourselves in the foot on this one. Like we knew we were going to get some heat from this, and we knew that it wasn't going to go very well, but like we had to make the decision that we did. And so I just got to hope that there was pragmatics that if we're given the chance to hear about the rationale, like I think it would be appreciated to know rather than just like, no, we didn't want to, or no, we just didn't. Like that's not very fun for anybody.
It would have been nice had they taken that ownership before being called out for it, for whatever
Right.
that's worth. I mean,
That's
instead of
true.
being
Yeah.
caught at the press conference. I will tell you, my opinion is shifting since the games, just based off of looking at what they're sharing and some of the interviews with Don. And I think there's a snowball's chance in hell you guys are going to be at the elite games again next year. I think they're moving it off site if they do it at all.
Mhm.
That's just
Yeah.
an opinion. And it's not that they don't appreciate adaptive. They're very clearly saying they want to grow the CrossFit games.
Yeah.
And with all due respect, people don't watch the adaptive games, at least
Mm.
not at the same level that they do the CrossFit games. And I get that it's a financial decision. So they have to decide if we're going to do this, we have to go all in and put all of our resources in that. And then to the earlier point, they're going to have to decide where are we going to do it or at all.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't make sense to cancel it. You do have Wadapalooza, you have Will Wad, you
Yeah.
have there's the one in Europe. What's it called?
Barcelona.
Wadsalona. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you got like 3 like really good events
Yeah.
that are skilled at doing this that they could hand it off to and
Mhm.
allow them to do it. So I can't imagine a scenario where they say we're not going to do it at all,
Yeah.
but they have to pick one.
Right.
And for the love of God, they got to get media out of it. Like
Mhm.
you're never going to grow it. You're never going to get adaptive athletes into the gyms without the media.
Right.
We need people seeing you doing those 13 muscle ups so they can have the same reaction I did and go, I
Yeah.
hate that guy. Like, I can't believe he can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want them to look at it and go, maybe I can go try that.
Right. Exactly. And I think and I hear that. And I think even just spitfiring as you're talking now, it's like my brain saying like, what's to say we can't make another like semifinal that's solely just for the adaptives to be crowned fittest on earth,
100%.
Yeah.
right?
100%.
Like
Yes.
let's
Absolutely.
make a semifinal that event that is run by CrossFit, but it's purely for the adaptive athletes to be crowned fittest on earth. We get to an on-site location. We're not doing everything virtual anymore. And, I'm just at my gym at 7:30 in the morning, taping lines down and just hoping things go well. Like, I mean, you miss that adrenaline, that opportunity to really shine. And I think you give it a good location, you put it in the right spot, like maybe over in Nashville or in Cookville or whatever it may be, like people would come see that
100%.
for sure.
I agree.
Well,
And maybe that's what we're hoping. Maybe that's what the Wheel Wad games become. Who knows?
I would love
So,
to see that. Like the
You gotta
Wheel One
come.
CrossFit Games. I
Yeah.
just think
Great.
that handing it off to an organization that already knows what they're doing would be so simple. We've been talking about it on the show for the last couple episodes. And the more
Right.
I think about it, the more I'm like, just having its own fittest on earth adaptive games, I
Yeah.
feel like is like Olympics does it.
Right.
Olympics has Olympics and then Olympics has Paralympics so that people can focus all of their time, effort, energy,
Yeah.
and resources into its own thing without trying to be too many things to too
Right.
many people, right? That's what Jason Kalipa said last night.
No, it's perfect. Yeah. And I think honestly, it's when you look at the fact that Stoutenberg and his staff have basically created 10 different adaptive divisions on both the men and women's side. So 20 total divisions of different disabilities to compete in. I mean, there's 3 seated divisions within Wheelwad now. There's a division for those that basically got classed out of the CrossFit games from their multi-extremity division into their own basically division in Wheelwad. They've already made it work, and we've already seen it happen through the Wheelwad Open and semifinals that we've already had this year. So, like, it's possible. We just got to get the people that know what they're doing, the resources, and say like, take the ship, let's drive it, like go
Yeah.
for it. So, yeah, I think the Wheelwad games are in Raleigh, North Carolina again last weekend of November and December. I think like the 30th and the 3rd. And then it's going to be a blast. It's going to be an awesome time. Last year, we went to a convention center for the first time, moved away from a gym site, and it was a really cool vibe. It was a lot of fun. So I'm excited to see what big things are rolling out this year. And I think it's, again, if we can get some media out there,
Well,
make Wads ready to get it out there.
I was
It's
I
just-
was there.
I
was
know. I
there.
loved it. It was awesome.
For the record, I was the only one there.
You were. Yeah.
I was quite literally the only quote unquote media that actually attended this thing. And I can tell you, someone who attended it was a spectacular event. It's well run, well run as any CrossFit competition I've been to.
Yeah.
Adaptive CrossFit is interesting to watch because it's such a different experience than watching the elite athletes, the Bar
yeah.
Horvaths and whatever, because you've got, like, as an example, there was an event where the men that were they're missing a leg, like
Mhm.
partial legs, and they're snatching, and they're all doing it different because their impairment are all in different spots. Some at
Yeah.
the ankle, some at the knee, some above the knee, and so they all have different movements. And so as a fan of CrossFit or someone who's just done CrossFit for a while, like, you're watching them and learning what they're doing, and it's really interesting. And then you have moments of just like pure inspiration. Amy Bream was there and she was doing burpees and she was getting frustrated because she was too slow. And she literally throws her leg off and then goes twice as fast.
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And you're just like, holy crap, like this girl's crazy.
And
you know?
it's neat because there's such a chess game of knowing your body well as an adaptive athlete and how where and how you can make moves. They started their I believe it was test number 3 right after the snatch and or right after their total, they went into another workout right there on the north field, and it opened with carry the jerry cans. And it was interesting to watch the standing lower athletes that had a prosthetic leg get completely like devastated by that versus those that didn't.
Yep.
Because like just that variable alone changed how that whole workout goes for them. And then, well, they got their chance to redeem themselves later when Amy can take off a leg and then she's that much lighter
Yeah.
doing pull-ups. And it's like, it all kind of comes around in this big chess game. It's like Colton Mertens, like, all right, the dude's got to throw a 200-pound sandbag over a log that's literally taller than him. And most other athletes are taller than that log, right? So like he knew where he was going to take his chops, but then he also made his move, won the freaking ski bag event. And it's like,
Right.
everyone just has to play their game. And that's really fun because it's so much more prevalent in adaptive athletes. So like no one realizes how, if like a workout for a seated athlete will literally come down to who can get in and out of their chair the fastest sometimes. So, I mean, it's that simple. It's crazy.
That's some shit you gotta train, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
in addition to
Yeah.
just being really fit and doing
Right.
pull-ups and doing handstand, like all the things, like you gotta train like your personal transitions with your impairment.
Yeah, exactly. And for
Bananas.
me, like with cerebral palsy, like I can go too hot where my CNS, my central nervous system, like overloads and then my legs start to
Uh-huh.
shake. And then all of a sudden, if I'm trying to get in my chair and my legs don't want to bend because they're shaking, I'm wasting precious seconds. And it's like
Right.
one of those annoying, frustrating things that it's like, I didn't play the cards right here. When it's everything is a variable when it comes to adaptive athletes.
I remember there was an athlete there. Do you know Sydney Peterson?
Yeah.
You
Oh,
remember
yeah.
her? Yeah, yeah. So she has CP, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So she was running. Thank you. This woman would come through. They were running laps, and it was concrete floors in this arena that they were in. And she comes in, and obviously, like she's struggling with the run. And the first lap face plants right in front of me on the concrete, like, and I mean hard, like really
Pity.
hard. Gets up, finishes the round, goes and runs another lap, comes in second lap, face plants right in
Get
front
the
of me.
fuck out. Bummer.
This happens 4 times.
Shit.
4 times, right? So when she's done, she's literally all bloody. And I go over to her and I'm like, "Are you okay?" And well, actually, she introduced herself to me, which is why I was talking. She's like, "Oh my God, I know you." And I'm like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Yeah, why?" I'm like, "Well, you fell. Are you okay?" She's like, "I do that all the time."
Yeah.
Like that was just her total reaction. Like, just this
What
is
a
my life.
badass.
Yeah,
Right.
she's like, "This is my life." That's what she was like. And that's when it hit me how impactful these games are for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's those are the things you learn. Like I'm sitting there feeling sorry for her, and she's like, "This is the way I live. What are you feeling
Yeah,
sorry
bro.
for me for? I had to
Mhm.
complete the workout." And
Yeah.
it's just
I'm
it's
tough
such
as
a
nails.
it's such a different mind shift.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're not going to find much better grit than watching an adaptive athlete work out
for sure.
because they're not there because they want people to feel sorry for them or they're
Right.
there because they're like looking for that like acknowledgement that like you can do hard things. It's more of like they're just proving to themselves that in anybody that like doesn't matter what kind of adversities you have to face and how your daily life has to look different than somebody else. Like you can still achieve it if you're just willing to accept that not everything's going to go as smoothly as planned, right? And that there's going to be certain things that you have to do differently than other people. And when you get over that, I mean, it's just a really good mantra for anybody. Like if you
Yeah.
walk into a CrossFit gym for your first time and you see people doing butterfly pull-ups and you're like, I can't even pull myself up. Like you have to be okay with where you're at. And that's something I think you learn a lot from an adaptive athlete, which is really neat.
Yeah, for
That reminds me of, and I know we're like running up against time, but I really did want to ask you about this. You posted something on Instagram the other day, Tom, that was like, it was like it was a video and it was like you squatting and it was like
Mm.
maybe getting frustrated with needing so much support when you squat or whatever
Okay.
it may be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it cut to you, a picture of you as a kid in a
Oh yeah. That
wheelchair.
was yeah.
And you were like, wait, we can squat?
Mhm.
And it was just like, it blew my mind because I was like, yeah, like I bet you get frustrated as fuck sometimes being like, it sucks that I have to do it this way or I need an extra thing or
Oh, sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
But like, like little kid you in a wheelchair, if you could look ahead however many years, 15, 20, 25 years, be like, oh, I'm the fittest fucking man seated with hip function 3 times in a row.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, just what do you think little kid you would think knowing that big guy you can do all these
Yeah.
other
Right.
things?
Oh, that's cute. Yeah. I It's hard to put that in words. It's because I definitely wouldn't have ever thought I'd be here. Right. I think there was just a kid that wanted to be a kid. Right. And I wanted to play baseball like my brother did. And I wanted to be out on the soccer field. And I wanted to watch my sisters run cross country. And so I'd go and I'd cheer and have to lug myself across cornfields and dirt roads to make sure we're watching them. But it was just that drive of wanting it enough. And I think telling young self now would just be like, keep going. Like there is no reason that you can't, right? And um, don't get me wrong, I love that CrossFit is doing more to try and provide adaptive CrossFit a platform, right? In general, like you look at the grand scheme of the last 3-4 years, right? Like there was nothing in 2020, and now here we are, right? We have something, so that's awesome, and um, it's neat to say that we're a part of that, and that we're myself and all the adaptive athletes competing right now are like the founding fathers of it, and we're just working through the kinks of all of it, but it's it's got to be worth it. When there's got to be something that's worth it for you. So when I say the little kid back in the wheelchair with the full cast from hips to toes, like, yeah, the fact that you might have to use a safety squat bar and put something between your knees, but you can squat 300 pounds, like, not a bad day. Like, at the end of the day, like, if I have to, I know I can squat and pick something up if I have to. Like, that's what I need it for. I think it's cool to say that I found my calling. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot of hustle while you wait and just keep moving. The right thing will come along, and with patience, with persistence and perseverance, like you'll end up finding what you need in life. And I think I've really found that, which is cool. So definitely never would have thought that that kid in a wheelchair would be a Paralympian, a
Right?
reporter on ESPN, fittest
Uh-huh.
seated man on earth. Like wild, 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 wild.
Right.
So
Oh, and now you're working to try to get that message to even more people. I'm so sorry. I totally
no,
forgot to
you're
ask you about
fine.
this earlier, but you are like leading this charitable effort to try and get more adaptive athletes into CrossFit gyms. Can we talk about it?
Yes. So I'm happy to. So myself and Jason Olenichek, who owns Adapt and Conquer CrossFit here in Cedarburg, Wisconsin, we have a nonprofit called United Training Foundation. And so Jason was very intrigued by adaptive CrossFit from a young age, or I guess not from a young age, but from the infancy of my career. When I first did the Open in 2017, like he was there the whole time, helping me hold my wheelchair, helping me kind of maneuver around it, learn more about it. And very quickly we started going to the wheel wad games, and he was had always been my anchor, my wheel man. And everyone, yeah. And everybody just saw the relationship that we had and how well we communicated together, and kind of started to turn to Jason a lot in those moments and be like, hey, can you help me when you're not helping Tom? And can you be a resource? And I think he realized in that moment, like the niche that was available for him. Right. And adaptive CrossFit, as we know, and adaptive fitness in general is so underutilized, right?
Mhm.
There is so much out there that is being untapped right now. And I can remember as a young kid, like I didn't have Paralympic sports in the area. Like I didn't have a lot of opportunity for myself to be like, hey, you're a kid in a wheelchair. Like this could work for you. It
Yeah.
was like, oh no, you're going to play soccer, but you're going to have to get out of your wheelchair and run around like everybody else. And so to say that we can now together be a nonprofit that helps adaptive athletes find a gym, we provide grants to athletes to whether it's one-on-one coaching, to get a gym membership, to find a personal trainer that kind of just gets them onboarded into a class setting, right? Whatever it may be, we want to provide athletes with an opportunity. And I think when Jason saw that evolving through WheelWalk for himself, like we wanted to reach out to the population that maybe doesn't see them as an athlete yet, right? And so, yeah, United Training Foundation, we're about in their second year right now. We raised over $50,000 last year and had 3 or 4 athletes already in our team that we're fully sponsoring to be full members of their local community affiliate. They're fully immersed in the class settings. They're with trainers that we have helped get ATA certified by providing grants for those coaches to go and take the class.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, it's been awesome and it's been really cool. We're 2 weeks out from running a golf outing at this point. So if anybody wants to sponsor and help us out, we're looking for it. So any way to help, every single cent of it's going to go back to our athletes and providing equipment. We're looking to potentially find a way to build more satellite locations that are fully adaptive. So we go and help a local affiliate get wide base ski ergs and extra length rower handles and split ropes and
So
whatever it
cool.
may be to give so that they can basically build a hub like John has. He's got 2 adaptive classes in his gym. Like we want to make sure that that's a thing all across the country and across the world. So
Yeah.
we're excited to see where things go and continue to branch out. And I'll tell you, it's very rewarding and also very eye-opening to be a seated athlete and then coaching seated athletes too. As I have new members come into our gym, we actually have 3 individuals in the chair that are incomplete spinal fractures at all different levels. I think one's T3, one's T5, one's T6, but all like working with all of them differently, like compared to how I would move myself around in a wheelchair. It's like very eye-opening to be like, oh, I got to slow down and like learn a lot about it. But man, I'll tell you, you become such a better coach when you work with an athlete like that. I mean, you learn so much about how important it is to communicate. You learn so much more about how you have to build a relationship that lasts because that's what really keeps them coming back is knowing that
Yeah.
there's somebody invested in them. And we really hope that UTF can be that place that helps bridge that gap for individuals. So we love
You
it.
guys have a website for this
We
charity?
do. We do.
What
Yeah.
is
United Training UnitedTrainingFoundation.com.
United
Very
Training?
Training.
United
Foundation.
Training Foundation.
Oh, okay.
.com.
Got it. Got it.
UTF. Yep.
Very nice.
Yeah. So it's been awesome. It's been really cool to be full circle in the adaptive community. It's been a lot of fun. So
Awesome.
yeah. Thanks for asking about it though. Yeah.
Are you
course.
these guys you're training in the wheelchair, Tom? Are you yelling at them? What do you mean you can't do a muscle up yet?
No, right?
13. Oh, what the
Yes.
fuck?
Hey, 18. Come on. No,
Yeah.
I gotta
Wait,
get that
that's
20 soon. I gotta get that
massive. Holy
20 soon.
shit.
No, but I will tell you, I'm not at that level, but I am also not somebody that, and this was very what was given to me as a child or even growing up in the athletic world was there was no handhold for me.
Yeah.
They're like, you want to do it? Sure. Get out there and figure it out. So with my athletes at the gym too, it's like, you can wheel over there and grab that dumbbell. Like you can
Right.
wheel over there and then grab that wall ball. There's the first couple of days as we're getting onboarded. Yeah, of course, we're always going to help out a lot and stuff, but like we want to help foster independence. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
as much as we can put the athletes in a situation of like, oh my God, I'm alone. How would I do this? Right. We're going to. So
Yeah.
it's amazing to see how much our adaptive athletes have grown at our gym, Adapt and Conquer, but even just as a whole, I think we're seeing more and more adaptive CrossFit blossom between CrossFit and Wheel WOD. I think our first year in the open, there was 200 total members. And I think last year there were 200 total guys in the lower extremity division alone in the open. So
Dang.
just seeing that kind of growth is exciting. I think though we didn't get the coverage we were looking for and the resources may be a little uncertain right now, I gotta believe that we're going to be still setting ourselves up for success in the future. So
Hope
Yeah.
so.
it's just hard. It's 3 years in, right?
Hey.
It's just, there's going to
It's
be,
new.
hurdles.
Yeah.
Right? the CrossFit Games themselves are still relatively new, right? There's still
Right.
kinks and hurdles to get over every single day, and this just gonna take a little bit of time.
Hey,
I do love the idea of doing more good from the inside and
Yeah,
continuing to sign
right,
up and continuing to be like, I'm here and I'm going to tell you how and why I'm doing the things
right,
that I'm
yeah,
doing.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
hey, this has nothing to do with CrossFit, but you're a swimmer. Do you see that the armless swimmer that set the record last week?
Yeah. Oh my
Dude,
gosh,
dude, that
right?
was insane. Did you see this, Nikki?
No, what is it?
Oh,
This dude, he's
check it
a,
out.
Chinese swimmer, and I
Mhm.
looked it up. I looked up to get the name. It was a Zhao Jingqing is his name, and so no arms, and he's like literally
But
when
he
you
has, like,
watch the
no
video,
armpits either, like, he is, like,
yeah,
shaved at the bone. Yeah.
Dang.
just a torso, right?
Mhm.
And when you watch the video, he never comes out of the water. It's like his head. Have you ever seen those videos where it's just like a bubble of water over their
Yeah,
head?
totally.
That's like it's just like that the whole way.
Yeah.
It's like a dolphin
Dang.
almost. It's insane how fast he is.
And he
Yeah.
set a new record?
It's a new
Yeah,
world record for his, yeah, Paralympic division, but, like, and he when he comes in, he literally just full-fledged smashes his head into the wall. There is
yeah.
no
It's
stopping him. He broke 30 seconds in a 50 freestyle, which and he all he did was kick. Like, I don't think people understand, like, if you go and swim a 29 in a 50-meter freestyle, like, that's respectable. That's really good. The dude kicked it. It was just legs. Like, that's a whole new territory of insane. Like, that's like, you gotta be in the sport to know, but if you're like, damn.
it's
Dang.
crazy to watch. You got to look up
Yeah.
the video. It's so impressive.
Yeah.
And when he hits the wall, like Tom's not kidding, like he slams his head into the
Are
wall to
you
Like,
finish
he
this
needs
serious?
to
thing.
be monitored for
Yes.
concussion. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like,
Yeah.
it's aggressive. Yeah.
I was wondering
Dang.
if they had like a padded timer or something that allowed him to do that because he hit so hard.
Yeah.
I felt bad for him.
I
I
hope
know. You'd
so.
think so, but no, I mean, the pads are the Omega ones used for international competition are a little bit spongier, but still, that dude's probably done it enough that it's like, yeah, I mean, he's just
How
adapting to
much do
it,
you think
right?
he can squat with those legs? I mean, really,
Right?
right?
I don't know. That'd be interesting
Dang.
to see. Yeah.
Maybe
Trying to
he's our
think.
next CrossFitter.
There you go.
Maybe,
Right?
maybe
Wouldn't doubt it.
can't do muscle ups for shit though. Would be too
Nah.
small. But
I'm sure he'd figure out with
Lame.
his legs somehow to make it
no,
happen, right?
you got
Probably. Good
well.
lord.
Let's be honest. Adapt Products will figure out some sort of something so he can. Like
Yeah, equip products, they'll figure out something for sure. Yeah.
they always come up with the best stuff. And like first time I saw him make a jump rope that had a handle so you could do it with one arm, I'm like, all right,
Yeah,
these
the
guys can
mono
figure
row,
it.
right?
Yeah, you can figure
Yeah.
Mhm.
anything out. They're
Yeah,
amazing.
they've equip products, they're fantastic. Mark and Dana Harris, they have been nothing but fully committed to Wheel Wad and their success. And I still have scars on the back of my hands from when they brought out the coffin last year at the games, which is like our version of a pig flip. And
Yep.
yeah, it's they love to spice things up. So they're
Here-
really good at what they do. I'll say that
Here's how
much. Right?
committed the adaptive community is. I ran into Mark and Dana at the games, and Dana like pulls me aside. She's like, "Is there anything you need for your gym? I'll send you whatever you need." Like
Oh, come on.
she wasn't like trying to sell me. She would have just packaged it and sent it. And I'm like, Dana, no, we're good. Like we got everything we need, but we'll order stuff if we need it. But
Yeah.
that's so typical of this community though.
Yeah.
How giving everyone is and how much everyone wants for everyone else's success. Like I will end on this, but when I went to Willwad, one of the things that was most impressive, and it wasn't just Tom and his division, but in a lot of these divisions, you would have one athlete that was wildly better than the rest. Tom was one of those athletes. And they would finish, far ahead of the others, but they would stay out there, man. And
Cool.
this happened every single time and everyone would continue to stay until the last person was done. And it wasn't like I feel like sometimes at the games you see Noah walk out there and he's a super guy, so I'm not making fun of Noah, but he'll go out for the last guy. And I feel bad for the last guy, like he's getting this attention he doesn't want when he's getting his ass kicked.
Yeah.
It didn't feel that way. It felt like we're all winning together. And
Absolutely.
it's such like an inspiring, like fun community moment that you just don't really get anywhere else. So
Well,
it's
and I can tell
it's
you
a cool
that
thing.
probably most athletes there, right, that are competing in our wheel walk community are very much like me, who didn't have a place to be a part of adaptive athletics when they were growing up, and they didn't have those resources at an early age. So, like, the fact they have it now, it's so easy to cherish because I mean, it's such a
Yeah.
breath of fresh air for us. That like, oh, like I don't have to worry about keeping up with able-bodied people all the time, and I can just do me, and I can do what makes sense for me in the moment. when everybody's out there trying their absolute best. And people are doing things that they didn't think they even could going into the games when they get out on the floor half the time. So it's awesome just to be in that moment. And just, I think everybody knows that if we want to grow this movement, we want to grow this community, like we have to continue to show support for everybody. I think that's alive and true.
Well, and let's be honest, they're also a little worried Stouty's going to yell at them if they don't work hard enough. There's that.
That dude gives no Fs. I'll tell you that much.
I was in the athlete briefing and they had legless rope climbs or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't care if you can't do it. You're going to try it. Like,
yeah, right.
Literally just shouting at everybody in the room.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, this is a briefing. Like, come on.
Dude, I'll tell you one thing. We
Right.
went from the Open this year, from the Wheelwatt Open to semis, was an insane jump. It was stupid. It was awesome. We went from doing like an 8-minute AMRAP of like 65-pound snatches and U-turns, which is like a very, very fast workout, to our first workout at semifinals was a 5-4-3-2-1 bench press at 225, legless rope climbs, and ring muscle ups. And I was like,
holy God.
Yeah, like, let's go. I was like, oh man.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I think,
crushed.
right? I think last year was the heaviest we ever benched in a Metcon that wasn't for purely strength numbers, with the row bench semifinal that we had to do. It was like the 500-meter row, 30 bench, 1,000-meter row, 20 bench. And we did it like 145. So all of a sudden we're seeing 225 for 15 reps. You're like, okay. So
Okay.
yeah, it was awesome. It was pretty fun.
Oh.
So yeah, they're not afraid to make us hurt. I'll tell you that much.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love that.
Well, Tom, thanks for joining, man. It's
Guys,
always
it's a pleasure. Yeah. Thanks a lot for letting me help be the voice of Adaptive, and let's cross your fingers for great things moving forward.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, absolutely. It's always great having you on and just have a good discussion. Nikki, great seeing you 2 nights in a row.
I know, this was fun.
I know. Look at us, busy little podcasters. All right. Well, for everyone listening, we appreciate you guys joining, and we will chat with you guys soon.